Well, hello and welcome to another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. We're back at Bolesworth Castle, the beautiful castle in Cheshire, and it's a time for another Hampson auction preview. One of the cars that's going to be in the auction is this vehicle, a Range Rover L322, which I and a lot of other people, if you know, you know, like very much the L322, this generation of Range Rover. It's a good car, it drives very nicely. I'll be doing a full-length feature video on this car at some point, because not only is it a good example of an early L322, but it was also spec'd up and bought new by one of the most successful music artists of all time, George Michael, with his unpronounceable original Greek name. But he was marketed as soon as Wham started to make it, his first band in the 1980s. He changed his name to George Michael, and as they say, the rest is history. He sold many millions of albums and tracks, but he loved his Range Rover. He either had two or three, and we've had a lot of important Range Rovers through the auctions recently, different auctions. Her Majesty's Range Rover, another L322 came up recently. This car is up for grabs on Sunday, the ex-George Michael Range Rover. Be interesting to see how much the halo effect, the star effect has on this car, and I can go into it in more detail later, but if you're interested, go on the Hampsons website and check it out. Well, another favourite of mine is this car. The Porsche 944 Porsche made a silk purse out of not quite a sow's ear, but a vastly inferior car. The 924 was a good, solid, reliable car, but it hardly set the world on fire performance-wise. Then Porsche brought out the 944 in 1982 with a brand new engine. It was half the 928 V8. And with a balancer shaft to counteract the big vibration of four large pistons bouncing up and down. The 944 was an immediate sales success with its sort of signature 1980s bulbous wheel arches. And then came this, the 944 Turbo. And this took everything to a whole different level. It was up to, in standard form, 220 brake horsepower. And this car, because of its beautiful balance, engine at the front, transaxle a la Ferrari Daytona, and then the torque tube, and then the transaxle at the back incorporating the 5-speed gearbox. This was a really well-developed car. It had sparkling performance. The boost curve on the turbo was very good. I used to service loads of these, and they would go on to monster mileages, provided they were maintained with proper engine oil, etc. Balancer and camshaft belts changed regularly. This car has done 150-odd thousand miles, but it has got a very, very good service history, a good maintenance history, and provided they've been warmed up properly before they were thrashed, actually they survive remarkably well. It's guided at 14 to 18,000, Alpine white. Yeah, I think this is an interesting car. It's got the original electrically raised and removable sunroof. So it's quite a high spec car, this actually. It would have been in period. I like it. Yeah. Great driving, great handling piece of 1980s Germanicana, the Porsche 944 Turbo. Well, another car that caught my eye while we're in 1980s Porsche territory is this. This is just snuck over into the 1990s. This is a Porsche 928 GT manual, right-hand drive, a surprisingly rare car. And again, this is a car I'm quite fond of because I used to work on them a lot. In fact, I actually did one that had been owned by a member of the British aristocracy. I remember acquiring it for a customer and sort of servicing it for years afterwards. And that had a supercharger fitted to it as well. It was the same as this, a right-hand drive manual GT. A very, very rare version of the 928. The GTS, the very last iteration, was slightly rarer again, or considerably rarer, but there really weren't that many of them. They're incredibly rare. But this is sort of falls into the fixer-upper category. It's not perfect, but it is a very interesting project, and what a driver's car. With that supercharger on it, I remember I was out road testing it. In the dry, I could spin the back wheels at 80 miles an hour. It had that much grunt. I don't know what the engine develops in standard form, 280, maybe 300 brake horsepower, something like that, maybe a bit more actually. But it's just the way it does it. Again, it's the big daddy to the 944 turbo we were talking about, the extremely efficient weight distribution, engine at the front, all alloy V8, transaxle to, in this case, a manual transmission between the back wheels to keep all the weight inside the wheelbase of the car, and roughly equal transfer front to rear weight wise. This is a car you can do long distances in. That's what they were built for. I remember reading about a chap who used to use his 928 to go all over Europe in period, and he did hundreds of thousands of miles in his 928. They were absolutely solid. You've got to watch the electrics on them. They have to be kept up to snuff. They do have to be kept on top of. But this, I think, is a worthwhile project. I think it's, again, it's a very rare car. Quite a satisfying car to drive this. Maybe, why not? Have them both in your collection, the 944 Turbo and this, as sort of benchmark front engine rear wheel drive cars from the late 80s and early 90s. Lovely crisp 4-cam V8. Watch the cam belt. The cam belt has to be changed regularly on it at the correct time and mileage periods, because the water pump is actually run by the cam belt as well. And if the bearings start to go in the water pump, you could end up with a wrecked engine simply because your water pump's going down. So they do need the cam belt to be changed at the correct intervals. It's not that bad a job. It's accessible right at the front of the engine. Yeah, the Porsche 928 GT, a lot of car, no reserve again, for potentially very little money, and a great project to bring up to snuff during the winter. Well, another car that's definitely worth checking out is this. This is a Rolls-Royce Phantom, the Phantom VII to use its correct nomenclature. And this was, of course, the beginning of the BMW era for Rolls-Royce. But this is an extended wheelbase car, as it's called, so that the back is actually longer than normal. This is an awful lot of car, but wait for it, this is no reserve in the auction. No reserve. It's in immaculate condition. It's got the umbrellas in the back doors, which were a feature of the Phantom VII. And these are actually Teflon coated, so your chauffeur of choice can protect you from the elements, and then roll this wet straight into this compartment here. There it is, it locks into place, and you have your car for all occasions. And no reserve Rolls-Royce Phantom VII. What can possibly go wrong? Well, another car that's caught my attention. Yes, I know, it was never an expensive car new, but these I've always had a bit of a soft spot for. I have never driven one. This is a Ford Puma 1.7, and when they were current, the journalists used to say that they were one of the sweetest handling cars at any price point. This is no reserve. It's a two-owner car with one owner for most of its life. Of course, with all modern cars like this, we don't know what the underneath is like. The death of many a modern car is actually the rust underneath on the suspension and the bodywork. But I don't want to speak ill of this car. I have no idea what it's like. But at no reserve, I think it's worth a punt, because I think these are great fun to drive. This is a reasonably sharp and tidy car. It could be yours for next to nothing, but I just quite like them. I'd be curious to have a go in this. I'm trying to talk myself out of putting a cheeky bid in. A Ford Puma 1.7, just such a lot of fun for your pounds. Well, one of the things I love about these auctions is one never knows what's going to turn up next. I remember years ago at an auction, quite out of the blue, there was the van, Corporal Jones's van from Dad's Army, with all its rifle holes in the outside used in the TV series Dad's Army. And for the original van to turn up at auction, I thought was absolutely amazing. This is not quite in that league, but it's not far off it. This is a 1953 Bedford K-type truck. It's been beautifully restored. The paint finish on this would be the envy of many classic cars. It's just utterly cute. If you want to turn up, there are apparently only 2 of them left. If you want to turn up at a rally, a vintage car or vehicle rally, and be guaranteed that there won't be another one, I think this is the vehicle for you. It's originally supplied new in 1953 to Rotol propellers, which is very interesting. Rotol propellers were there was a propeller manufacturer in the 1930s, the late 1930s, when there was possibly going to be conflict involving aircraft sort of looming on the horizon. Bristol, or Rolls-Royce and Bristol, let's get them in the right order. There were 2 propeller companies and they melded them into one. They took them over and melded them into one. This was cutting edge propeller blade technology, and hence the name Rolls-Royce, R-O, Toll, Bristol. And the 2 companies amalgamated, they made actually war-winning propellers for the Spitfire, the Hurricane, the Mustang, aircraft on both sides of the Atlantic. And it's a lovely piece of history to have this immaculately restored van. It was supplied new to Rotol in 1953 and it's been restored in Rotol colours. I just think this is lovely. I mean, the way everything works, you know, it's a little minibus with these beautiful aluminium doors. Everything just works absolutely magnificently on it. It really does. The cabin, the interior is just all immaculate. I don't know how you could possibly restore this vehicle for anything like a sensible price to this standard. It's estimated at 12,000. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like a lot of vehicle and a lot of fun for you and your family and friends. And I mean, you could even take your mates down to the pub in this. It's just a sweet, sweet thing. 1953 Bedford K-type minibus stroke truck with interesting corporate history. Well, my connection with Hampsons goes back decades, which is part of the reason why I support them. Zach, whose company it is, his dad, Mark, and I go back over 40 years. And I did work for them. I remember first on a race-prepared Lotus Elan, 1960s Lotus Elan, all those years ago. Anyway, this has been a record year for Hampsons. This is their last sale of the year. They have over 100 entries and over 70% of those are at no reserve. So if you fancy coming down this Sunday to Bolesworth Castle in Cheshire, beautiful location, to see what's going on, open doors at 9 o'clock, auction starts at midday. I hope you've enjoyed it and we'll be back with something else very soon.